Hi, I'm Louise and welcome to Yoga When You Need to Be a Little Bit Festive. Right now it's a little difficult because most of the UK is in tier 4 or headed to tier 4, which means we're in lockdown, which means we have all the time in the world and not a lot of celebrating going on. So we're going to have a little bit of fun today with some yoga, some stretching, some strengthening, a little bit of balancing. We're going to get started on our feet today, get started standing, and just kind of feet hip width apart. Good way to tell that is 2 fists. So check that a little bit. It should be a nice comfortable stance anyway. If you can, kind of move your feet around so all 4 corners of the feet are feeling the mat. And wiggle your hips a little bit. You can move your shoulders. You might hear some dogs whining, some random dogs coming in. And yeah, just start to move your arms around, hips back and forth, let your arms swing. You can even start to twist and let your arms kind of fly around your sides. All while feeling all 4 corners of the mat with your feet. Take some nice deep breaths in your nose and let them out your mouth in some cleansing breaths. Almost killed myself with my lights there. All right, start to slow down a little bit. Come back to feel a little bit of stillness. Palms out, chest up. Deep inhale and exhale through the mouth. One more like that. Try and keep those nice, deep, steady breaths the whole time. But when you exhale, try and keep your mouth closed, like you're gonna fog up a mirror, like, but with the mouth closed. So even breaths, inhale and exhale. See if you can inhale to the count of 3, exhale to the count of 3 as well. Try and keep up that breath the whole time through the practice. If you start to lose the breath, just pause for a minute and go back to it. It's a little difficult sometimes when you're moving around and you're just getting started, but once you get into the rhythm of the breathing and the movement, it starts to feel really, really good. So just come into your mountain pose, hands forward, shoulders rolled down from the ears and slightly back, pelvis tucked. You can pause for a minute in stillness. On your next inhale, right arm up. We're going to try and keep it long. So look like your chin was going to your armpit and across up to the ceiling. You want to be stretching the right side of the body. So don't lean forward, don't lean back. Just try and lean to the side. You should really feel it in your ribs and in your hip flexor. Another inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to turn to the right, left hand on right hip. And on the exhale, return to the center. Other side. Inhale, left arm up. Feel that rib cage expanding on the left side. Reach your fingers to the sky. Another breath in. And on the exhale, to the left. Right hand on left hip. And if you can, put your left hand on your right hip. Inhale and exhale back to center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Clasp your hands behind your back into a fist. And on the next inhale, try and bring the fist to your right hip. Look over your right shoulder. And exhale, release. Clasp your hands the opposite way now, so the awkward thumb is on top. And fist to left hip. Exhale, release. All right, we're just gonna meet at the top of the mat now. If you have some blocks, they'd be great. If you don't have blocks, don't worry. I'm just gonna show you how you can integrate the blocks in the practice if you have them. Sometimes if you just have a sturdy water bottle or a sturdy book, that can work as well. So we're gonna come to our mountain pose at the top of the mat. Feet hip width, pelvis tucked, ribs knitted inwards. So if you need a little help with that, just put your hands on your rib cage and try and bring them together. And you can feel when your pelvis tucks, your ribs kind of knit in automatically. Shoulders back, hands forward, chin parallel with the floor. Take a deep breath in and exhale. On your next inhale, circle your arms up, look at your fingers, look at the sky. And exhale, bend your knees, belly to chest, belly to thighs. So if you're having trouble reaching the floor, this is where blocks come in handy. You can bring the floor to you. If you have two, you can use them like this. If you just have one or a book, you can use it like this. The easiest way to reach the floor or your toes in a forward fold is to bend your knees. Belly to thigh contact, knees bent, feet firmly planted on the floor. And look how easy it is to reach the floor now. Look towards your knees. And exhale. On your next inhale, we're going to come up onto the fingertips. If that's too far for you, you can come up onto the fingertips on your block, or you can use your hands on your shins. Try and straighten your legs just a little bit. You should feel your legs working. Don't lock out your knees. A slight bend is always better than locked out knees. Inhale, look forward, nice flat back. Exhale, fold. So if you've got your block or your book, you can bring your right hand kind of in the center of your feet, like under your nose. And with your next inhale, we're gonna reach your left arm back like you're gonna draw a bow to shoot an arrow. So inhale, up the arm and twist from the waist. So try and keep your hips squared to the mat and just twist above the waist. And exhale, left hand down. Let's switch sides. Inhale, right arm like you're gonna draw that bow. Open up to the right side of the mat. My knees are bent a little bit. Got that belly to thigh contact. Can feel those muscles in the hamstrings working. And exhale, hands down. Again, if you want to use your blocks, you can keep them at the top of the mat. And we're going to line your blocks up with your feet. So if you need to bring your feet a little bit forward, blocks on the side, bend your knees, flat back. And on the inhale, we're going to lift our left foot, bring it up, and back to the back of the mat. Curl your toes under, knee over ankle on the right leg, hands on blocks or on fingertips. If you have one block, you can put your hands in the front this way. And we're just gonna kind of rock back and forth. Try and keep that belly to thigh contact and that nice flat back. Runner's lunge. Deep breath in. And on the exhale, drop the back knee. You can keep your toes curled under if that feels good for you. If you feel it's more stable to put the top of your foot down onto the mat for your low lunge, that's fine. Either way is good for me. Bring your hands up to your knee. You're gonna bring your torso away from your thigh and try and bring your torso and stack your torso, hips, and shoulders all in one line. Squeeze your left glute. And you want to feel like your right foot, that you're pulling back on it, like you're going to bring your leg back in and the mat's going to curl up in between. Really activate those legs. If you want a little bit more, you can reach your arms up above your head and look up. Try and keep them close to your ears. And on the exhale, hands down to the mat. You can move your blocks aside. Left hand next to the right foot. Curl those left toes under. Bring yourself back up to that runner's lunge and open up to a side twist. Try and keep your right thigh close to your body. So you're going to push down on the big toe side of the foot. You should feel this. You should really feel your legs working. Another inhale. Exhale. Left hand down. If you want to get your blocks again or use your fingertips, we're going to kind of pop up our back foot and come back to the big front of the mat. So take a deep breath in, bend your knee, and spring forward. If that was a little bit tricky and you need another try at that, go ahead, give it another go. And we're just going to hang out in our halfway lift. Meet us there. Once everyone's there, another breath in, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll the way up, look to the sky. Exhale, bend your knees, belly to thigh, forward fold. Look between your shins or your knees. And inhale, flat back, so hands on the shins, hands on the blocks or fingertips. If you don't have blocks, I'm going to put my hands down on the ground so you can see a little bit more and the blocks aren't getting in the way. So I try and line up my fingertips with my feet. If that means I need to bend my knees more, that's fine. So on the inhale, I'm going to pick up my right foot, use a little bit more weight in my hands, and put my foot back of the mat. Pretend you're on train tracks, so the feet should be separate, almost hip width apart. So get yourself comfortable in there and balanced. Curl the toes under and just rock back and forth a little bit. Try and keep that back flat, looking out forward in front of you. I'm sure you can really feel your legs working. Be a little bit of a leggy practice, and then we'll have some fun. Another inhale, and on the exhale, drop the back knee down. If you want to keep your toes curled under, I find that a little bit easier sometimes to help activate my leg. Sometimes if you're not used to it, it feels a bit much on your foot, so you can flatten out your foot as well. If you're doing it with toes curled under, it'll look a bit like this. And then you want to inhale, rise up. You can clasp your hands, put them on your knee, squeeze that right butt cheek, activate those legs. Remember, you want to feel like you're gonna pull your legs together and the mat's gonna curl up in the middle. Really active legs. For a little bit more, you can put your arms up. Another inhale, exhale, right hand down, right knee up off the mat, and open up into that easy twist. Remember to push into the big toe on the left foot, that side, and you want to keep that knee facing forward and hugging in close to your body. You might feel a little bit of a shake. We're really working here. And on the exhale, bring your left hand down And we're going to scoot our right foot back into a plank. If you want to put your knees down for a supported plank, go ahead. You can untuck your toes. We're just going to hold here. Remember to push the ground away from you. Full body engagement, tailbone tucked. And we're going to look forward and we're going to bend our elbows, keep them close to our torso, and lower down slowly. So ready with me? Inhale and exhale. 1, 2, 3. Try and get belly and chest to hit at the same time. Once you're down on the mat, have a little bit of wiggle out. You can tap your toes on the mat a little bit. Wiggle your hips. Wiggle your shoulders. And rest your forehead down on the mat for just a sec. On the next inhale, we're going to roll our shoulders back, pelvis to the mat, chest forward, little baby cobra. If you want a little bit extra, you can lift your hands up, give your fingers a little wiggle, and exhale down. Tuck your toes, push up onto your knees, and we're going to come into our first downward facing dog. So, keep your toes curled under. If you want to scoot your knees in a little bit so you're in a little bit of an extended tabletop. And slowly lift your hips towards the sky. Remember, bent knees are always good. So, belly to thigh like you did in that forward fold. And push with your hands. You want to feel like you're extending those armpits. It's a full body stretch. You want to have a little bit of a wiggle with your hips. Walk your knees in and out a little bit. Walk in the dog. Try and find your comfort zone. Sometimes you need to adjust your feet a little bit. Figure out where your downward dog works for you. When you feel slightly comfortable, and I am using that word loosely, because when you start out, downward dog isn't exactly the most comfortable pose, but one day you might grow to love it. If you can, find a little stillness. All right, we're going to flow a little bit more. So if you can, bring your left toes slightly, or your right toes to the more center of the mat. And we're going to lift our left leg back. Sorry, I'm getting this confused. It's one of those days. So left toes to the sky. Push equally into both hands. Bend your left knee. Bring it in towards your belly. Come up onto your right toe. Arch your back. Come forward. And try and pop your knee down. Or pop your foot down in between your hands. If that didn't work very well and your foot ended up here, just use your hand to get it up there. It takes a lot. It takes some strength and some flexibility and a little bit of coordination to get that. Don't worry if it takes a little bit of time. Sometimes if I'm not thinking, I don't get it all the way to the top of the mat. First go. Come back into our runner's lunge. Rock back and forth just a little bit. And we're going to raise up to a high lunge. So, find your footing. You can bend your back knee a little bit. And you want to feel like your thighs are going to scissor together. Your legs are on train tracks. So feet hip width apart again. Feet pushing into the mat. This left foot, you're going to feel like it's going to drag backwards. And we're just going to inhale up into our high lunge. You can keep your back knee bent to get your balance. You want to balance again, your torso, shoulders, and hips all in one line. You can keep your hands here at your heart if it helps with your balance, or raise them up over your head. Try and keep your front knee facing forward. You don't want it falling in. and you feel a little bit of a shake, on your next inhale, we're going to rise up slightly on our back foot and turn, open up to warrior two. So your back foot should be parallel to your mat, and your front heel and back arch should be lining up. Shoulders open, arms out to the side. You want to stay again over your hips. You don't want to be surfing forward. Legs are really working today. All right. One more inhale. And on your exhale, we're going to come a little bit forward, and you're going to take your elbow onto the inside of your thigh and reach up, side angle. If that's a bit much for you, you can always put a block here on the inside of your leg. Put your hand on the block and reach up. Really, nothing has changed in your legs. It's just your torso. I know you're feeling the burn right now. And on the exhale, we're going to turn, look down towards the ground, and both hands are going to come on the inside of the left foot. So if you have your blocks, you can wiggle your left foot out, and hands on the inside, lizard pose. If this is feeling a bit intense, you can drop your right knee down. And just again, we're just going to rock around a bit. If you want to take some circles with your knee, trying to open up those hips a little bit. This is one of my favorite poses. I promise if it feels a little bit torturous now, one day it might actually feel good. All right, a little bit of stillness. Try and keep that knee close to the arm. Look forward and exhale. So I'm gonna swipe this left foot back and see we're already in our supported plank. And we're going to lower again slowly. So inhale and elbows next to the ribs. 1, 2, 3. Torso down, forehead to the mat. Just give it a little bit of a rest. And on the next inhale, little baby cobra. Try and do it with your hands not on the mat. If you can't breathe, you've gone too far, so back off a little bit. Keep your pelvis pushing towards the mat. Exhale, back down. Tuck your toes up onto your knees. Hips to the sky. Meet back in downward facing dog. Give it a little wiggle. Find your comfort zone. Find your place. You want to keep your knees bent. It's always good. Most of my downward dogs are always done with my knees bent. A little bit of stillness. Bring your left foot a little bit towards the center in the back. And on your inhale, right leg up to the sky. Point your toes like you're going to try and right on the ceiling. Push evenly into both hands. Bend your knee. Bring it in towards your chest. Arch your back. Forward, forward. Plant your foot down. If it needs a little help, use your hand. Get it to the front. You need to grab your blocks. Use your blocks. Runner's lunge again. You can find that little bit of rocking motion. And also start to find your alignment for the next pose. So thighs like they're going to scissor together. Right foot like you're going to be able to pull it back and wrinkle up the mat. Look forward. Let's try bringing our hands to our chest. And inhale, rise up. Really feel those legs working. Like you're going to scissor everything together. Find a balance point. Look out at something in front of you that's not moving. If you're feeling good, arms up. Bend into that front knee. You can probably see I'm shaking as well. Inhale, and on the exhale, start to open up. So drop your back heel to the mat, foot parallel, front foot in line, front foot heel in line with back foot arch. Warrior two. Arms open, look out over your first two fingers. Try and keep your arms nice and even as well. Pelvis tucked. Legs really working. All right, let's do it. Let's go a little bit deeper into our side angle. So come forward a little bit. Elbow to keep your knee. So you want to push your knee into your elbow and your elbow into your knee. Arm up. Try and keep your chest open to the left side of the room. Feel the burn. All right. On your next exhale, look down to the ground. If you need to use your blocks, grab your blocks. Rotate your back foot up onto the toes again and bring both your hands on the inside of the left foot. So scoot your left foot a little bit wider, or your right foot a little bit wider than you normally have. And if you want, you can drop your left knee down. If you want a little bit more power, a little bit more strength, keep that knee off the ground. And you really want to press out into that heel. Flat back. And just find a little bit of a rocking motion. Feel those legs working. And then a little bit of stillness. All right, on your next exhale, what you can do is if you want to put your knee down, if it's not already down, and we're going to turn to the center of the mat. So if you want to bring your blocks with you, you can, but we're going to turn both of our feet so they're both parallel to the sides of the mat, and find yourself a nice distance. You don't want to be too far so you don't feel like you can balance. But usually, you know, a little bit, maybe under the wrist for the feet. And we're going to come up into this shape here. So feet pointing to the front. You can pigeon in your toes just a little bit. And you want to really push into the knife edge side of the feet. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, and just find some stillness in this pose. Hands to your hips, and actually try and put your hands a little bit lower, like in your hip creases, and we're going to start to fold forward. So inhale, chest up, and we're going to try and keep our back flat, and you're going to feel like you're squeezing your fingers between your hands. Keep that back nice and flat. Feel that little bit of shake. And you can put your hands down to the mat. If you need to use your blocks again, or a book to keep your back nice and flat, you can do that. Next inhale, nice flat back. And on the exhale, we're going to fold a little bit more. You can either keep your hands on the mat, or if you have a little bit more space and you want to grab a hold of your ankles, just however you're comfortable. You can bend your knees ever so slightly. Hands back to the mat. We're going to move a little bit in a side lunge. So, inhale, Hands to the hips, raise back up. We're going to work on Skandasana, which is a bit of a hip opener and hamstring flexibility. So there's all different levels to it, but you want to try and keep your heels, we're going to the front first, you want to try and keep your right heel onto the floor, so you don't need to go that deep. What I like to do is slightly turn my foot so it's facing more of an angle at the top of my mat. Hands in prayer at my chest, and start to bend into that right knee. So this might be all the farther you can get. That's fine. It's a really tough one. If you need a little bit more, you need help with your balance, you can put your hand on your blocks. If you've got a little bit more openness, you can come all the way down. This is my good side, by the way. Another inhale. Exhale, use your hands. We're going to help ourselves back up to the center. And now we're going to do that to the left side. So left foot out at a little bit of an angle. Hands to the chest. Bend the left knee. Try and keep that hip nice and open. If this is all the farther you are today, that's still a workout. You can use your block to rest your hands on. If you can come all the way down, come all the way down. Hands back to the mat. Help yourself back to the center. Hands to your waist. Inhale your way up. Now we're going to do a super yoga transition here. We're just going to take a quick inhale and hop your feet together. Trying a little bit hip width apart. Wiggle it out a little bit. And because it's Christmas Eve, we're going to work on tree pose. So again, this is one of those balances that there's many different levels for it. We're going to be balancing on one foot. So you're going to start with kind of switching your weight a little bit to your left foot and bring your right foot up onto your toes. So you can start off, if you're right here today and your toes are still on the floor, that's fine. If you can bring your foot up a little bit, maybe rest it onto your calf, knee open, hands in prayer. If you feel like you got a little bit more, you can bring your foot up to your thigh, but you don't want to rest your foot on your knee. So wherever you're at, you want to feel like your foot and your leg are pushing into each other. Feel all the wiggles and wobbles? I'm impressed I haven't fallen over yet. Balancing's not my thing. If you want a little bit more, arms straight up. Find a point across the room that's not moving. Focus on that. Hands back to your chest. And you can return your right foot to the ground. Wiggle it out a little bit. And let's move on to the left foot. So, get comfortable on your right foot. Lift up your left foot. And if you want to take it off the ground, just bring it to your ankle. Maybe a little bit up the calf. Maybe you've got a little more in you. Hip flexibility. Woo! See? Everybody falls. And you can bring it up to the inside of your thigh. And again, you want to be squeezing everything into the midline. Thigh and foot really pushing into each other. Feel all those adjustments, all those wobbles. That's your body working for your balance. Arms up. Like a pretty old Christmas tree. And exhale, hands back to chest. And you can put your foot back down. Very good. I actually find balancing on one foot more difficult than balancing on my hands. It's just always been something that really frustrates me, and so I'll be honest, I don't work on it as much as I should, so that's why I'm trying to add more balances into classes, just so we can all wobble around together. So your feet should be hip width apart, and you're going to open them up, so toes out, and then come up on your toes, heels out, toes out. So you should have them a little bit, not as far apart as they were in that wide fold, but enough that you can start to come down into a squat. So turn your toes out, try and find what's comfortable for you. If you have a block or a book, you can always put it down. And when you find the right distance, you can come down and have a little seat on your block. If you don't have a block and your heels are coming up a little bit, that's fine as well. It all comes in flexibility. But we're just gonna have a little bit of a squat in Malasana. And if you do have a block or book and you want to put it under and just hang out here for a few minutes, it feels amazing. Elbows to the insides of your knees. Keep your back a little bit straight, and you want to feel like you're pushing your knees open with your elbows. That's where the prayer hands really come in handy. You can hang out in your Malasana. If you have crow in your practice, but you want to give it a try, while I'm doing the demonstration, you can come out of your Malasana unless it feels really good and you want to hang out for a little while. But you can kind of wiggle out a little bit. So if you're familiar with crow, we're going to put our hands down in the mat in front of us, grip the mat a little bit, come up onto our toes, knees on the backs of the arms, come forward, forward, forward till your toes start to come up, lift. Squeeze everything in towards the midline, bring your feet up towards your bum, round your back, look forward, and come back out. You can have a little play around with that. If you want, you can pause the video and try it a few more times. If that's not for you, you can just pop back into your squat for a few seconds. Give it a try another day. Hands back behind you, and we're gonna come down onto our bums. Oh, just have a nice sit for a second. Our legs have been working very, very hard, so I'm sure you're feeling it. But now we've hit all the peak poses and stuff like that, it's time to start to come to wind down a little bit. So have a drink if you need it. And we're gonna put our right leg out at an angle. And if you can, bring your left foot in so it bends in and your foot is against your thigh. Again, blocks could be really helpful in this. We're gonna turn our torso so it's facing our right leg. If you need to bend your knee a little bit, that's perfect. When you're stretching your hamstrings, bent knees help quite a lot. If this is quite uncomfortable for you, you could prop your hips up on a block or a pillow. And we're gonna reach forward with a flat back. So, if you've got blocks or a book, bring them a little bit forward, chest forward. You don't wanna roll down or anything like that. Just bring your chest forward, belly to thigh, activate that foot. So bring your toes back to kind of wiggle around and say hello to you. Nice flat back fold. If you've got a little bit more to give, you can reach forward, maybe hold your foot, and just keep coming forward. You want to think chin to shin. So you're going to be reaching forward, not just curling down. On your next exhale, you can back out just a little bit. And slowly back out of that fold. Let's do the same on the other side. So left leg out, right foot in. Find your comfort zone. So for me, my left hamstring's always been a little bit tighter than my right hamstring. So sometimes that one is always a little bit more off, my knee's a little bit more bent. and start to find your edge. So if you need your blocks, put your hands on, or you can just slowly crawl down. Again, trying to keep a nice flat back. Think chin to shin. Reach your toes back. Don't forget about your little toe. Like your toes are going to reach back towards your face. With every inhale, you want to find a little bit more length. And every exhale, a little bit more depth or comfort. It shouldn't hurt. If you're starting to feel like it's painful, or just back out a little bit. You don't need to do the deepest fold. Your flexibility will change on a day-to-day basis sometimes. Start to back out a little bit. A little bit more. Come back up to seated. So both feet out, and just kind of put them out to where they fall. You can wiggle them out a little bit. And for this we're going to do, as we did standing, a wide-legged fold. But sometimes seated, the depth is a little bit different depending on your hip flexibility. First thing first, we want to kind of put our hands by our hips and try and sit up nice and straight. For some of you, that might be where you're at today. That's fine, just stay there. For some of you, you can start to walk your hands forward. And again, you want to engage those legs. So pull up on those kneecaps, engage, feel those quads engage, feel those feet engage, and you can start to walk forward. As forward as you can with a flat back. Again, you don't want to just kind of slump forward like this. You want to be extending outward. You can feel your sits bones, like your bum kind of reaching towards the back of the room as you're reaching forward. You can bring your block along, put your elbows on it. If you've got a little bit more to give, bring your elbows down to the ground. Again, with your flat back. Start to ease out a little bit. Just walk yourself back out. You never want to go into a fold too quickly or come out of a fold too quickly. So you always want to ease your way in and then ease your way back out just as gently. So the great thing about yoga is there's no rush. All right, so we're going to come down onto our backs. I'm going to swap around a little bit so you can see. So feet hips width apart, knees bent, arms out. I'm going to do a little bit of core work just before we completely surrender into relaxation. So back nice and straight, and we're going to slowly start to roll down. Roll down nice and slow. Nice and slow. You should start to feel your back unrolling onto the mat. And when you've got your whole back onto the mat, just kind of stay, feel that shake. Another breath, and relax. Oh, I like to add a little bit of core work into my regular yoga practice because it helps build strength, helps with you balancing, helps with inversions, and generally back pain, and just making your posture a little bit better. Keep your knees bent up. Keep your knees bent and pointed to the sky. And bring your heels in so you can just graze them with your fingertips. We're going to do some bridge, a little bit of bridge pose. So on the inhale, you're going to use all four corners of your feet, and you want to feel like your heels are going to drag back towards your bum. You're going to wrinkle up that mat. Inhale. Lift your pelvis up. Try and keep your knees in towards each other. If you have a block, you can put a block between your knees so you can feel that activation. Probably feel a little bit of a shake here. Squeeze your bum. And exhale back down. right knee, right leg, bring it up. Cross your right foot on top of your left leg. If this is where you're at today, that's all good. If you've got a little bit more, you can start to lift your left foot off the ground and bring yourself into like a little ball. You want to keep your right knee pushing out the whole time. If you can always interlace your fingers around your left thigh, but you want to keep your back long and against the mat. So I don't want to see you up like this. If this is where you're at, if you're still here on the ground, you're still getting a good stretch. If you've got more flexibility and open hips, you can bring your foot in a little bit more. This is reclined pigeon pose, one of my favorites. Again, you want to feel your tailbone on the mat, your whole back, your neck lengthened. You can give yourself a little bit of a wiggle. If you're right here still, you can use your right hand to kind of push your right hip open a little bit. Just one more breath in and exhale, come back. Right foot down onto the mat and just kind of wiggle your legs out a little bit. You can windshield wipe them. We did a lot of hip stuff today, so your hips should probably feel pretty good and open. And just come back to your heels where your fingertips can touch it. Bring your left foot in. Cross it over top your right thigh. And again, if this is where you're at today, stay there. Keep that hip nice and open. Feel that stretch. If you've got a little bit more to give, you can bring your right foot off the mat. Maybe interlace your hands around the back of your thigh. If you've got a little bit more, you can bring your knee in, compress everything belly to thigh. Keep that hip nice and open. Nice way to kind of come down after all those leggy poses and all making our legs work today. Another inhale, squeeze, and exhale. Feet back onto the mat. We can go into another bridge pose. If you've got a block, you can do a supported bridge. So fingertips touching your heels, knees pointing up, thighs squeezing in together. Lift up your hips, and if you've got your block, you can rest your sacrum, your lower back, onto the block, or you can use a little bit more strength and hold it. Feel like your heels are going to drag back. Squeeze your bum. One more inhale and exhale down. Bring your knees into your chest. Make yourself into a little ball. Give yourself a little back massage. You can roll around a little bit. You can roll your knees around. Give those hips some love. We work them pretty hard. Going to come into happy baby. So if you can grab a hold of your shins and bring your feet up towards the sky, so literally you look like a baby, and like you're going to put some footprints on the ceiling. You can hold your legs where it's comfortable for you. Some people it's shins, some people it's on the backs, kind of the ankles, and you use the arms to open the hips a little bit more. And you kind of want to feel like you're pushing your knee down, like your knees are going to touch the mat. If you've got a little bit more, you might be able to hold on to the outside of the foot. Again, back onto the mat, neck long, tailbone reaching towards the back of the mat. You don't want to be all curled up in a ball. You want to feel nice and lengthened in this, even though you're compressed. You can sway a little bit. Sometimes this is my yoga practice. Just happy baby. A few minutes of this, it feels really, really good. It's probably why babies are so happy all the time. All right, you can let that go. And you have two choices. You can either come into a more traditional Shavasana, so legs out, flat on the ground, shoulders back, lying there, or you can scoot over towards a wall and put your legs up a wall. I actually prefer this way sometimes. I'm getting tangled in my legs. So yeah, legs up the wall. Try and get your bum as close as you can to the wall. Arms out to a T. Take a deep breath in. And relax. Whichever way you found comfort, whether it's the traditional Shavasana or legs up the wall, just find some moments of stillness. It's been a really, really difficult year. A lot of people have struggled, some people have prevailed, some people have just merely survived, and some people are flourishing, but everybody's kind of in the same situation, even though there's different aspects, there's different places to it. I kind of hate that whole we're all in the same boat, like we're all living the same, we're all watching the same show, it just we're watching it on different size screens maybe. But just give yourself permission to relax. Give yourself permission to do nothing and just feel everything that we just did in this class. And hopefully you'll feel the benefits of it. And hopefully you'll feel a little bit lighter, a little bit happier. And maybe a little bit stronger. All things we should take from the end of this year. I'm going to come out now. If you are comfortable, just stay where you are for a few more minutes or however long you like. I hope you enjoyed this class. I hope that, the next couple weeks with, there's lots of people away from their families and not getting to have the fun that they planned. And there's still some people that are working hard every single day while the rest of us are sat around with nothing to do and a lot of time. So, I hope to bring you some more yoga, and I hope the rest of you find some happiness and some peace in a